Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, and do consider supporting the channel via PayPal or Patreon. You'll find the links in the video description. It's the candidates round 5, and I've got a tasty little encounter here between Fabiano Caruana and Richard Rapport. Really interesting game. After this, I'll show you a little snippet from the Nakamura Nippon-Nishi game as well. So here we go. Caruana with white playing his customary pawn to e4, and Richard Rapport, well, we know he's an enterprising player and he offers the Sicilian defense, and Fabiano is very happy to go into an open Sicilian, and we have a Taimanov variation. So it's of course a standard well-known opening, but you don't see it so often at the very highest level. And here, well, you know, bishop e3 is the most popular move. You can also usually transpose into a scheme in England with bishop e2. But Caruana plays g4. There we go. It's not even about to hit a knight, and he's launching forward with the g-pawn. And that's, in this particular position, a slightly unusual move. But it shows that Caruana is up for a big fight here. Interestingly, you know, there was, like I said, there's only a handful of games played with g4 in this position. But one of them I spotted was Carlsen against Master Vasilis from the World Blitz in 2021, just sort of 6 months ago. And there Master Vasilis took on d4 and played b5. And, well, Carlsen won in 23 moves. It was an absolute rout. Anyway, Rapport just played knight e7. So doesn't want to go to f6, doesn't want to get kicked, of course, and comes into the game, should come into the game via c6, or you never know, he might come into the game, this knight might actually move to g6. Bishop e3, b5, black expands on the queen side. Knight b3, so okay, Caruana decides it's time to avoid this exchange. It doesn't want this knight coming here, so drops back to b3. And it does mean that sometimes the knight can hop in here. So for example, bishop b7, well, that would be quite attractive for white. So knight b3 played, and now knight a5. So potentially making room for the knight here. Potentially knight coming in here, maybe just making room for the bishop, who knows. And here there was a game played between Hansen and Anderson, Germany 2000, which went like this. g5, white expands, and Anderson just kept going with his knight and actually got a very nice position here, and here's how. When white castled, he just played h6, and actually black's king was completely secure in the middle of the board, but black managed to generate a very nice kingside attack here. So, you know, these sort of standard moves, g5 and just push the pawns, well, they don't necessarily work. And Caruana played queen d2. So that's sort of looking through at the knight. And again, bishop b7 could be met by knight c5. So knight takes b3, a takes b3. Well, that feels as though white has achieved something there. Don't have to worry about a knight coming to c4 with the pawn here. Those pawns there. There's now a threat to take here, exploiting the pin. So bishop b7. Now there's potentially a threat here after b4, so bishop g2 defends that. And the knight comes out this way. Now, how do you play here with white? This is a very interesting moment in the game. And this next move was hard to predict, it has to be said. It looked like Caruana didn't know the rules of chess after this next one. Well, first thing is, you don't really want to castle kingside because the knight can come in here and, h5 is quite disturbing. And yeah, the king is pretty secure in the middle. What about castles queenside? Well, then knight h4, and that's quite irritating. You certainly don't want to give up that bishop. You don't want to step back either. So Caruana played instead rook f1. And it looks like he's tried to castle kingside, but picked up the rook first, and didn't carry through the second part of the operation. Point of rook f1 is that it means the bishop can drop back to h1 if it's attacked, and also it could be useful to support the f-pawn. Bishop c6. Now, I thought that was an incredibly cool decision by Rapport. Takes enormous confidence in this very sharp Sicilian position to basically take a time out for a move, and to prepare your attack on the queen side very slowly. So yeah, I was incredibly impressed by this move. The point is, it protects b5 so that black can now push with a5, a4. It also defends d7. I mean, that could be useful, but it's principally about defending that b5 pawn so that black can advance. Now, white would like to ram forward with f4, f5 very quickly, but then a check. And you take on g4. Well, that's no good. So therefore g5. So that prepares f4. But you can see that, white's kingside initiative also isn't that quick. It needs preparing, and that gives Rapport time to get going on the queen side. f4, a4. So this is getting quite serious now, with black perhaps just wanting to exchange here and get in on the a file. If f5, then knight h4, you sort of gain a tempo against the knight, and then you continue on the queen side. So a4 just played. Rook d1. You certainly don't want to castle queenside. I mean, it's a comical position where, it looks like the king could have stepped over there. It could have stepped over here, but instead it just stays in the middle, which isn't the most secure spot, it has to be said. And Rapport's next move, bishop b4, highlights that, because this pin is actually very annoying. Queen d4, and now the bishop is attacked. The pawn is attacked. Okay, here is another critical moment where I wonder if Rapport overlooked something in his calculations around here. Black could simply exchange on c3 and then castle kingside. And, you have to wonder, how secure is white's king in the middle of the board? And it's not easy at all. In the meantime, the queen side is potentially opening. If that queen could find its way to the long diagonal, that might be very nice indeed. Or maybe there's potential action with f6 as well. It depends what white's next move is. Does white have time to come in here? It feels really precarious. So that could have been a very interesting way for black to play, just exchanging on c3 and castling. Instead, Rapport played queen a5, supporting the bishop and increasing the pressure here, and it does look very attractive. But here's how the game finished. Queen takes g7, a3. It looks incredibly scary, undermining the support for the knight. But Caruana had calculated it all out. He just sidestepped with king f2, and after pawn takes b2, the knight is attacked. and Caruana just dropped back the knight. And here's the point. The queen on g7 threatens to take on b2. Just, recapturing that pawn, and then the king will slip out and things are, well, more than fine for white. So that's one threat, and the other threat, that threat, and the other threat is to play f5, advancing, attacking the knight, and then remember that queen is attacked as well. So for example, queen a2, protecting that pawn, does no good at all. f5, and white is winning. Therefore, Rapport played e5, and that prevents queen takes b2. Okay, f5. So what's Rapport got in mind? Well, now it's a forced draw. The bishop attacks the queen. The queen only has one square, and that's f6, queen f6. Bishop b7, attacking the queen. Again, the queen only has one square. g7, bishop f8, and so on. And here, well, they've repeated the position at least 3 times. And so that was a draw. A really interesting game, a very short game, but there was a lot of content there, and it shows how accurately these players calculate. It is very hard to contemplate these kind of positions in advance, with a pawn on b2, just one step away from queening, and realise that actually white is still okay. And then Rapport appreciated that he could still bail out with e5 and this clever little drawing mechanism as well. Funny game. In fact, all four games in the round were drawn. I just want to show you a snippet from the game between Nakamura and Nepomniachtchi. Nakamura got a really good position. This was a Petrov. White's pawn's looking good. Basically, Nepo had a reasonable opening, but then went wrong. And here, Nakamura missed a fantastic chance. Now, he played rook e3, and, well, after going around the houses a few times, the game was drawn. But here, knight h4 was, well, practically a winning move. So why is this move winning? I mean, obviously the bishop is a little bit loose. If it goes back to g6, let's just have a quick look at that. d5. Black is just getting pushed around here really badly. If the knight hops in, then it's lost. And if knight b8, then rook e8. And that is a deadly pin. And, well, the queen is attacked as well. And sorry, I'm being very wayward with my arrows. And queen e7, that is the end. What else after knight h4? I mean, it's really unpleasant. Queen b1 is probably the best. But after this, these moves are forced. White actually reaches a very promising endgame. I mean, black just has to roll with the punches here. And here, well, basically, black is going to lose one of these pawns. It's a horrible position. And together with the two bishops, it's a very clear and very safe pawn up for white. Should be winning. So Nakamura was kicking himself. He missed a golden opportunity there to, get closer to the leaders. So after 5 rounds, we still have Jan Nepomniachtchi in the lead with 3.5. Caruana 3 out of 5. Nakamura, Rapport, Duda 2.5. Ding, Rajabov and Firuzja on 2 out of 5. So it's still very close. Anyone that puts in a bit of a spurt here could do very well, but it is very tight with Nepo in the lead. So Thursday is round 6. I'll be reporting back after that. Thanks for watching.